Welcome back. In the previous video, we went over hierarchies, being introduced to them, and just why they're so important. In this video, we're going to, again, continue working with hierarchies and primitives, in this case, making yet another hierarchy scene with intent. And in this case, we're going to make a character. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. I'm going to take a cube. I'm going to scale the X to almost 2, so maybe 1.975. What's that looking like? Let's see. Yeah, that's okay. All right, I'm going to go to the front view now. I'm going to, before moving on, before doing anything with this, I'm going to actually go ahead and immediately rename this cube to hips. As you saw from the previous video, just how chaotic and gigantic the hierarchy got. Hierarchies get complicated quick, so having things named is going to be really, really important. Let's go ahead and make a cylinder now. Let's move it up. I am going to rename, well, before I rename it, actually, let's go ahead and just take care of the scaling. So let's make this the scale of 0.545, just about. And the Z, 0.565. Let's actually go ahead and take a look at, see what it looks like on the right side here. Good. Just about there. That's what I want. Yeah, that's pretty good. And we are going to name this spine _01. Very good. Let's go ahead and duplicate 2 more spines. Actually, no, before I do that, it's a good idea that I immediately just do all the work that I want to do on this first spine before I duplicate it into others. Namely, you saw in the previous video how I had to move the pivot point around for each and every single cone before I was actually able to properly use the hierarchy that I made. So before I make that mistake again, I'm actually just going to go ahead and move this pivot point down myself, just freestyling it, not using snap to grids this time, just moving it down to the base of my spine here. Press D again to lock my new pivot point in place. Excellent. Now I'm going to duplicate this 2 times. Go to the front view so I can keep things nice and organized. Just eyeballing it here. Good. Automatically renamed spine 2 and spine 3. Let's go ahead and scale our X's here so that each is a little bit bigger than the last, but not that much. There we go. Already starting to look vaguely person-isk. Let's go ahead and do the same thing on the right side, on the side view here. Just going to make each of these just a little bit bigger than the previous, just a little wider. There we go. That's not bad. Let's make a new cylinder. And this one is going to be the neck. Let's adjust. Let's make our scale X 0.35 just to get a nice view. Yeah, it's nice and thin. Scale Y to 0.6 and 0.35. Let's see what this is looking like. Front view. Again, you'll notice as I'm doing work here that I am just moving my camera around from a whole bunch of different angles. I'm trying to make sure I see what this looks like from all 360 degrees. Good. So let's rename this now. Neck. And let's quickly go ahead and make a sphere now. I'm going to place the sphere where you think it should probably go, which is right above the neck. Next, I am going to go back to my front view and move my pivot points for both head and the neck. D to lock that in place. I'm going to call this head, neck, same thing. D, move the pivot point down to lock it in place. Position that makes the most sense. I'm going to maybe move the head a little bit closer right there. Okay. Next, I am going to select all this stuff that I have. I'm just going to drag, select, marquee, select all of this. I am going to go ahead and delete and edit by type history because I've been doing some work. It makes sense at this point that I should probably do that. And also freeze my transformation so that everything is at its new default point, which is good. It is what I want. Next, we're going to go ahead and start nesting things, making our first hierarchy here. So as you can imagine, the neck should be able to control the head. So I'm going to go ahead and nest the head into the neck. So now the neck is going to be able to control the head as it should. Neck is going to be nested into spine 3 into spine 2 into spine 1, and of course spine 1 into hips. So now I could do something like take a look at maybe spine 2. Controls everything above, but not anything below. Good. Already starting to get something that vaguely makes sense for a humanoid character. Now, let's generate a cube. A new cube. And this one is going to be a leg. So let's see. Let's move 2.365. That's okay. Right there. It makes more sense for the leg to be sort of sticking out rather than just being perfectly tucked in. Let's take this and I'm going to rename it r_leg. Before I do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and finish my work on it by moving the pivot point. Instead of moving it to the base, it actually makes more sense to move it up here closer to the hips, because that is where you move your legs from. Let's see. Now we're going to duplicate this piece, move it on down, rename this one, not our leg 1, but our knee. Now we're going to, let's take a look here. Let's create another cube, actually. I could duplicate this again, but I'd rather just make another cube here. Okay, let's see. This was moved over to -0.8, so I'm actually going to click on this, Control-C to copy that information, go back to here, Control-V to paste that information in. That way I don't need to eyeball it or type it in myself all over again. Let's do a scale on the Z, 2.34. What's that going to look like? 4, maybe 4 or 5. Maybe we eyeball it ourselves a little bit more just to sort of get it to what we want. Look at it on the side view. Okay, that's not too bad. Let's move the foot down here. And let's now let's actually just press D on the keyboard in order to move my pivot point up here to the ankle area where the foot would actually rotate from. So actually right around here, just eyeballing it. There we go. Let's go ahead and take all of these primitives that we just made here and actually just call this our foot. So my leg, my knee, my foot, I'm going to go ahead and just modify or edit, delete by type. History, modify, freeze these transforms. So now this is the starting, this is now the default location for everything that we have here. Good. We're going to nest things now. So we're going to nest the right foot into the knee and the knee into the leg. Perfect. And before we move on and nest this into the hips, we're actually going to go ahead and duplicate this, but we're going to duplicate this after. I'm going to go ahead and make the right arm as well to save ourselves some time so we can duplicate everything at once and just finish up rather than having to do things multiple times. So let's go back to our front view. I'm going to create another cube right here. We're going to move this up. It'll be around here-ish. Let's scale the Y to 0.65. Yeah, that's okay. Maybe it could be a little. And scale Z, we'll also try with 0.65. Keep the arm thin in a way that makes sense. Good. Now we need to worry about the X, which, oh, it's going by whole numbers there. So let's just eyeball it from here. This should be around I don't know, 3.2-ish. It's going to be long. We'll just place that right there. Going to our front orthographic view just to make sure we kind of just got this lined up where we want it. Okay. Let's rename this R arm. And we're also going to take our pivot point and we're just going to place it here in the shoulder area. And I'm going to duplicate, put one right next to it. R elbow. We're going to select both these objects just as we did before. We're going to edit, delete by type our history. We're going to modify, raise our transforms for this. Awesome. Taking a look at our individual here. We're going to nest our elbow. So we're going to make a hierarchy where the arm is the parent to the elbow, as makes the most sense. Okay, our primitive hierarchy character scene is coming along pretty well, but of course, all we've done so far is just create the right side of him. We still need to do the left, and instead of having to do all of that work all over again of creating all the cubes, lining them up just right, but on the left side this time, we're going to take a shortcut. We're going to go ahead, and we are going to select both the right leg and the right arm in our outliner by just shift selecting both. It's going to select everything that is everything that's in those hierarchies, and we're just going to press Control G to make a group. Now you'll notice when I made this group that the natural pivot point, the natural point of its natural pivot, is right here at the origin, which means theoretically we can just create a perfect mirror. But how do we do that? Well, first of all, we have to create a duplicate. So Control D on this group selected to create a duplicate of that group, and now, because this is right along the origin point, the pivot is right at the origin, and because we built our character right along at the origin point and didn't, push him somewhere off in the distance to work over there, we can now just scale along the X. Specifically, we can scale along the X until we get to -1, and that should create a perfect mirror. So let's go ahead and just that -1 right there. Excellent. Going to go ahead and now that with this group selected, I'm going to go to modify, freeze the transform so that now this mirror is the natural starting point for the left side that I have here. Excellent. Now, let's go ahead and get these out of our groups. Get these hierarchies out of the groups because the groups did their jobs. We don't need the groups anymore. I'd rather have these outside for now until I actually finished working with them. Same with this. Actually, really quick with these, I'm going to rename them left leg, tidy these back again, put these out here where I want them to be. Group 2 can go away. Now we can finish our work, which is going to be very simple because now what we're going to do is take this left leg, I said, and we're going to nest that into the hips. The right leg, we're going to nest that into the hips as well. The right arm is actually going to be nested into spine 3. Drag that into spine 3. And the left arm is also going to be nested into spine 3. And there we are. Let's go ahead and just unveil the entire hierarchy here. Our human character made of nothing but polygon primitives with the power of hierarchies. At this point, I would recommend you test. Make sure everything works out. The character is going to be posable via rotations. So thanks to the fact that we put our pivots in the correct spots, we can now pose this character however we like via rotations. If you want to move the entire character, by the way, you select it at the ultimate parent object, which is the hips. That is the natural inherent object for most characters in animation is going to be moving them around via the hips, like that. That's not too bad. Whee! Nice little epic jump that they must have maybe done. Who knows? Maybe we can add in a little bit of rotation here. There we go. And maybe we can have the head sort of pulled back in Glee. There we go. Look at that. Excellent. This will be your homework, creating a primitive character like this via the use of hierarchies. Again, hierarchies are extremely powerful. They're extremely useful. If you find yourself in a situation where you've already posed a character in the way that I have now, by the way, and you want to set it back to 0, just select everything and just set its rotations back to 0 to get it back to T-pose. All right. Hope this video has been helpful to you. I'm looking forward to seeing your posable characters made of primitives and hierarchies. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.